It was midnight in the silent Vale Tower, illuminated by cold maintenance lights. Marcus Hale, single dad and night janitor, pushed his cart across the marble floor. Across the vast lobby, Ariana Vale, the notoriously ruthless billionaire CEO, emerged from the private elevator. She stumbled, then collapsed onto the stone floor, gasping for breath. Marcus threw his cart and rushed to her. As his hand touched her shoulder, Ariana's eyes snapped open, whispering with panic, "Don't call an ambulance. I can't let anyone know." Marcus froze, because after that chilling order, she delivered the final, desperate whisper. "Please don't leave me alone." Marcus Hale was 35 years old, defined by the clean scent of industrial-grade detergent and the quiet rhythm of his mop. He was a night shift janitor and a dedicated single father to his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. He took the night shift because it paid slightly more, allowing him to be there for Lily during the day, navigating school drop-offs and dinner prep. He was, by choice and necessity, the invisible man of the Vale Tower. His job was grueling, spent in the stark silence between the midnight oil and the 5 a.m. rush. The pay was a constant anxiety, but he carried a faded photo of Lily in his breast pocket, a silent, powerful talisman that reminded him why he endured the solitude and the casual disdain of the day staff. He sometimes felt the weight of his life, the constant grind, the sacrifice of his own dreams, all contained within the simple truth of being Lily's protector. Ariana Vale, the 32-year-old CEO of Vale Enterprises, was a figure of myth and terror. She was the Ice Queen. She was rumored to have no emotions, no capacity for trust, and certainly no warmth. She was always impeccably dressed in high-fashion armor, her presence announced by the sharp click of her heels echoing down the long, empty hallways, a sound that made the entire building tremble. Her beauty was absolute, her power terrifying, and her life seemed to Marcus as alien and distant as a star. Marcus had only ever seen her from afar, a distant, untouchable presence, ascending to her private floors. He knew the unspoken rules. Janitorial staff did not exist in the CEO's orbit. They were shadows to be seen only by their clean work. Yet he was not entirely immune to the whispers that followed her. He'd once overheard an executive nervously discussing her in hushed tones. "She's working herself to death. She sleeps here. She won't delegate. Nobody ever goes near her." He realized her pedestal was actually a gilded cage. Just hours earlier, during his first pass, Marcus had seen her in the darkened executive conference room. She stood alone, staring at a massive financial projection screen, the light reflecting harshly off her pale face. Her hands gripped the table edge, trembling visibly. He registered the distress, the vulnerability, but obeyed the law of the tower. He simply glided past. A worker like him was strictly forbidden from addressing the CEO. Now, as she lay collapsed, the barrier between their worlds had vanished, shattered by a sudden, desperate moment of pure humanity. He threw his heavy cart aside, the screech of its wheels tearing the silence, and rushed to catch her. Her body was surprisingly slight beneath the layers of expensive fabric. He helped her sit up, pulling her stiff, expensive cashmere jacket back onto her shoulders. She was clinging to his rough cleaning uniform, a shocking contact between their two realities, gasping for air. "Don't let anyone see me like this," she repeated, her voice thin as silk thread, a sound of absolute fear. He held her, his arms steady. He realized she wasn't just physically weak. She was utterly terrified of exposure. Then came the hesitant, raw admission. Can you just stay for a minute? I don't want to pass out again alone." Marcus didn't reply. He was a man of action, not words, especially when dealing with fear. He sat silently beside her on the unforgiving marble floor. He didn't ask questions. Instead, with the simple, automatic instinct of a protector, he shrugged off his heavy janitorial jacket. The rough material was clean, smelling faintly of citrus cleanser, and he gently draped it across her shoulders. Ariana didn't pull away. She leaned into the rough material, the sudden, simple warmth immediately soothing her chill. The scent of detergent and honest labor was foreign, yet strangely safe. It was the first time in years she had allowed herself to receive comfort without an agenda. A long-serving security guard named Thomas made his rounds, spotting the bizarre tableau. He didn't approach, recognizing the intimate gravity of the scene. He lowered his voice into the comms mic and spoke a single, quiet observation. The truth of years of quiet observation. "She's so lonely, you know? I've worked here 15 years and I've never seen her lean on anyone like that. Not even her own security detail." Ariana needed medical attention, but her fear of her own family and the predatory board was a far greater, consuming terror than her fear of death itself. "You need a hospital," Marcus murmured gently, keeping his voice low and steady. Ariana shook her head violently, tears threatening to spill. "No, I can't risk it. If they, my brother, the board, find out I collapsed, they'll leak it to the press. They'll use it to declare me unfit. They'll take the company from me." Her voice cracked with the weight of the conspiracy. Marcus was genuinely shocked by the sheer reptilian malice of her world. Who would do that to their own sister? "My family," she whispered, bitterness chilling her words. "They see me as a barrier to the fortune. They have been waiting for me to show weakness for years." She tried to regain her footing, pushing herself up with strained effort, but immediately swayed again. Marcus caught her, hoisting her carefully. He knew he had to get her out of the visible area. He guided her toward the staff area, to the small, windowless break room. The only space in the entire executive floor he knew was truly free of security cameras. Ariana looked around the utilitarian room, her designer coat hopelessly clashing with the worn plastic table and the flickering fluorescent light. "How do you know about this room?" she asked, genuinely surprised by his intimate knowledge of the hidden spaces. "The janitor knows every corner of the building," Marcus replied, the statement carrying a quiet, hidden authority. "I know where the light switches stick and where the carpet is stained, and I know where the cameras can't see." Ariana began to hyperventilate, her skin clammy and pale. Marcus reacted instantly, dropping to his knees and rummaging through his supply cart. He grabbed a clean rag, soaked it in ice water from the cooler, and placed the cold cloth on her forehead, holding it there firmly. It was the same simple routine gesture he used whenever Lily had a fever, a father's automatic, non-judgmental soothing action. Ariana watched him, her eyes wide with bewilderment and disbelief. She was used to people offering her services, not simple human comfort. "Why are you helping me?" she demanded, her voice raw. "You aren't getting paid for this. You could be fired for even touching me." Marcus looked at her, his gaze steady and kind, cutting through all her defenses. "Because you're scared, and because no one should be alone when they're hurting." That single word, scared, so simple, so human, shattered her composure. Tears finally tracked clean paths through the smudged makeup on her face. She sobbed silently, her body shaking. She didn't understand why she was crying in front of a complete stranger, a man she had dismissed 1,000 times without a second thought. It was the first time in her adult life she had admitted fear. Once she regained her breath, the need to confess was overwhelming. "They want me out. They've been pushing the board for weeks, questioning every decision. I've never collapsed like this before. Until recently. The pressure is too much. I feel like I'm suffocating in my own success." Chanom. Marcus listened intently, just as he always listened to Lily's stories and fears, offering a quiet, non-judgmental presence. Suddenly, the sharp, rapid click of expensive leather shoes echoed from the main hallway. The sound was distinct, authoritative, and terrifyingly close. It was David, Ariana's older brother, a man who saw her only as an obstacle. Ariana grabbed Marcus's forearm, her grip surprisingly strong, her eyes pleading. "Don't let them see me weak. He can't know." Marcus didn't hesitate. He immediately stood, his broad frame filling the break room doorway, effectively blocking the line of sight from the hallway. He quietly but swiftly pulled the blackout blind over the tiny door window. Her brother's voice, loud and aggressively impatient, barked from the adjacent conference room. "Ariana, are you still here? Stop hiding." The footsteps paused right outside the break room. Ariana's body began to tremble uncontrollably behind Marcus, She pressed herself against the cold wall. Marcus leaned back slightly, his voice a low, commanding rumble that seemed to absorb all the fear in the room. "I'm here. No one touches you." David, hearing no response, assumed the floor was empty and moved on, his aggressive footsteps fading down the hall and toward the security station. The profound relief that washed over Ariana was so intense, it nearly caused her to collapse again. Marcus quickly turned, helping her sit back down, his hands firm on her shoulders. She leaned into his chest, unable to resist the need for support, finding impossible solace in the uniform that smelled of ordinary life. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to be completely held, protected by the person she never even saw. Thomas, the security guard, who had been listening to the muffled drama over his radio, confirmed the gravity of the scene as David walked past his station. He quickly wrote a cryptic note in his log. "Executive floor event. CEO reliance confirmed on single personnel. Unprecedented breach of protocol." The following day, Marcus arrived for his shift, his anxiety high. He found Ariana back in her office, looking sickly pale, clinging to her desk like an anchor. She had managed to make it back, but slumped into her executive chair, exhaustion etched into her face, worse than the previous night. Marcus threw caution to the wind and rushed in, ignoring the assistant who had just left. "Did you collapse again?" Ariana weakly pushed him away, stubbornness overriding her pain. "I'm fine. I'm just tired. I have to sign the merger documents with the board at noon. It's the final vote." Marcus's attention fell on the massive porcelain mug of coffee sitting on her desk, the mug her assistant had just brought in. He noticed a subtle, iridescent slick on the surface that caught the harsh overhead light. Something felt profoundly wrong. He leaned over the mug, catching a faint medicinal smell beneath the rich coffee aroma. He dipped a finger into the liquid, brought it to his lips, and immediately spat it out into the nearest waste bin. "This is wrong," he growled, his voice tight, the latent protective instinct of the seal resurfacing. "This is chemically unstable." Ariana stared at the coffee, horror blooming in her eyes. "You think they tried to poison me?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "Someone wants you incapacitated, not dead but weak enough to fail the vote, to look unstable, to justify an emergency removal." He acted decisively. He ignored her protests and immediately called a trusted doctor he knew from the night shift cleaning route, a humble general practitioner named Dr. Chen, who worked near the industrial park and treated the local workers. Dr. Chen arrived silently, wearing plain clothes, taking samples of the coffee and performing a quick, discreet examination of Ariana in a darkened corner of the office. The diagnosis was terrifying. Low-dose cardiotonic stimulants, a synthesized substance designed to induce subtle heart arrhythmia, mimicking severe anxiety or burnout. Dr. Chen explained, his voice low. "It's a silent killer. This isn't designed to be lethal in one dose. It's designed to cause cumulative exhaustion, panic attacks, and repeated fainting spells. Over time, it destroys the cardiac rhythm, making you look mentally and physically unstable to your board. It's elegant, Miss Vale, and almost impossible to trace back to a physical attack." Ariana was numb. She stared at the coffee mug, the symbol of comfort, now a vessel of betrayal. I could have died. They weren't just trying to shame me. They were trying to erase me." Marcus looked at her, his eyes blazing with protective fury. "No one is going to hurt you again. We stop this now." While Marcus secured the doctor's official, discreet report, Ariana's mind raced. She replayed every moment of the last few weeks, the panic attacks, the sudden dizziness. She realized the poisoner had been her shadow. Her fingers drifted across her office tablet, obsessively searching the deep recesses of the company's server. While searching for suspicious activity near the coffee station logs, she stumbled upon an old archived military commendation bulletin that referenced the Vale Tower dated years ago. A quiet, confidential thank you note from the armed forces. The citation was heavily redacted, but one line jumped out. "Exceptional bravery under fire, rescue of high-value non-combatant from burning structure, executed by Operator H, a single-parent veteran currently operating discreetly in civilian sector." She saw the name Marcus Hale. When Marcus returned, she held up the tablet, her hands shaking not from weakness, but from profound realization. You were a SEAL? Special operations? Marcus stood silent for a long time, the shadow of his past, a life of disciplined violence and sacrifice, falling over his calm demeanor. He finally conceded, his voice rasping. Years ago, I was out after my tour. Your building was still under construction then, but the fire happened in the adjacent commercial tower, which was fully operational. Our team rescued a group of executives and personnel trapped in a structure fire that went south of the border. There was a 16-year-old boy, badly injured, caught in the central utility shaft. I carried him out through the burning section, bypassing the structural collapse. Ariana gasped, clutching her chest, her realization confirming the unacknowledged link she felt to him. My brother, Thomas, he was in that accident. He went with his school field trip and got trapped. They said it was just a small electrical fire. Marcus nodded once. Your father pulled strings to keep the incident quiet. He thanked me personally, gave me a considerable financial gift, and made me sign a non-disclosure. He didn't want anyone to know his youngest son had entered a restricted zone. He wanted the whole thing buried. Ariana was utterly devastated. Tears streamed down her face. My entire family owes you our lives. You saved my brother. You risked everything for us. And I've treated you like an afterthought, an invisible man. Marcus stepped forward, placing his hand over hers. His touch was firm. I didn't need recognition, Ariana. I needed a job to raise my daughter. Your father gave me that. That was enough. I only need you to be safe now. The door suddenly burst open. It wasn't David, the older brother this time. It was his loyal corporate lackey, a board member named Harrington, who had been tasked with delivering the final merger documents. Harrington saw Marcus's presence, saw the intensity between them, and recognized the threat. What is this, Hale? Get out! You are interfering with executive business! Harrington shouted, reaching for the documents on the desk. Marcus didn't move. He became stone. I suggest you leave, sir. Now! You think you can intimidate me, a janitor? Harrington sneered, reaching for Ariana's arm. The CEO is indisposed. I need her signature. Marcus moved with terrifying speed. He didn't touch Harrington. He simply took one deliberate, measured step that placed his broad frame directly in front of Ariana, pinning Harrington against the open door frame, using only his immense presence and controlled fury. His eyes, the deep, cold eyes of a combat veteran, bored into Harrington's. I am not a janitor, sir. I am the only thing standing between Ms. Vale and the people who want to destroy her. I suggest you reconsider the company you keep. Harrington visibly trembled. He saw past the detergent-stained uniform and into the soul of a warrior. He retreated a step, dropping the documents in panic, realizing the man protecting Ariana was infinitely more dangerous than the ones trying to steal her power. Ariana looked up at Marcus. The fear was gone, replaced by profound gratitude and something else. An absolute conviction that this man was her anchor. An executive assistant who saw Harrington stumble out of the office in a cold sweat later confided to a colleague, "That was the first time I ever saw anyone make CEO Vale feel truly and completely safe. That janitor has the soul of a king." The incident with Harrington and the subsequent discovery of the poison galvanized Ariana. She was no longer fighting to preserve a company. She was fighting for her survival. Her internal legal team worked through the night, compiling the doctor's report, phone records, and security footage. The mountain of evidence confirming her brother's conspiracy was overwhelming. The board of directors called an emergency session, not to debate the merger, but to confront the crisis of corporate treason. Ariana walked into the boardroom, no longer the Ice Queen, but a figure of absolute controlled authority. She was followed by Marcus, who stood silently behind her like a living fortress, his presence a clear, unspoken message. The time for whispering is over. She presented the evidence with devastating clarity, her voice ringing with finality. From this day forward, she declared, her eyes locking onto her brother's pale face, no one will use the Vale name to conduct such dirty work. You attempted to destroy me physically and professionally. You failed. The board, faced with irrefutable proof of conspiracy and attempted corporate sabotage, immediately and unanimously voted to remove her brother from the company and initiated legal proceedings. The purge was swift, ruthless, and absolute. As she walked out of the tense room hours later, the accumulated stress of 5 years finally broke. She swayed, the physical and mental relief overwhelming her. Marcus caught her instantly, his hand firm on her shoulder. "It's over, Ariana," he murmured, guiding her to a quiet waiting area. "You won. You are safe now." Ariana began to cry, not hysterically, but with a deep, cleansing release. She buried her face in his shoulder, allowing herself to be comforted by the man who had seen her at her lowest and protected her at her weakest. Just as she regained her composure, Lily, whom Marcus had brought to the base level for a quick hug before his day job, ran up the hallway. She saw her dad holding the beautiful weeping lady. Lily ran straight to Ariana, hugging her leg. "Don't be sad, Ms. Ariana. You're strong like a superhero. You're the best boss ever." Ariana knelt, lifting the small girl into her arms. Lily's warm, unconditional innocence was the final solvent to Ariana's hardened heart. It was the first time she had ever willingly allowed a child into her personal space. Holding Lily, so innocent, so warm, melted something brittle inside her heart. In the days that followed, the Vale Tower continued its routine. But Ariana's routine was drastically altered. She began visiting Marcus and Lily in their modest apartment. She sat with them for dinner, watching the effortless, loving ritual between father and daughter. She noticed the details, the hand-drawn pictures on the fridge, the shared jokes, the comfortable silence. Her heart softened with every passing day, learning what true wealth, emotional connection, looked like. Marcus, a man comfortable with simple tasks, patiently showed her how to cook a basic pasta dish. Ariana was clumsy and awkward in the kitchen, a stark contrast to her boardroom competence. Yet she kept trying, her focus intense. She found joy in the simplicity. One evening, as Ariana helped Lily stack brightly colored blocks, the little girl looked up, her eyes wide and hopeful. "Ms. Ariana, you should just stay with us forever. Be my new mom. You make the best funny pasta." Ariana blushed, a deep human color Marcus had never seen on her. She looked at Marcus, and a shared, profound moment passed between them. She didn't deny the idea. She simply smiled, gently pulling Lily closer. The quiet apartment, smelling of home-cooked food, felt safer than the entire Vale Tower. If you believe that protecting one another is the most beautiful way to love, comment, "The company was safe. Ariana was safe. She had consolidated her power, implemented a new loyal board, and started a new preventative internal security protocol." The Ice Queen was back on her throne, stronger and more respected than ever. But 1 month after the Great Reckoning, she realized the victory felt hollow. She stood on the observation deck, the highest, most exclusive floor of the Vale Tower, the city glittering thousands of feet below her feet, the empire she had fought for. Marcus stood beside her, now officially her chief of security and personal advisor, but still mostly her silent guardian. "I have everything again, Marcus," she admitted, her voice hollow as the wind whipping around the skyscraper. "The power, the wealth, the company. But I'm still standing here, alone at the top of my fortress. I have nobody to go home to who truly understands." Marcus looked at the vast, impersonal sprawl of the city. He then looked at her. "You always have a home to go to, Ariana." Ariana turned, her eyes, usually sharp and cold, now luminous and vulnerable. She searched his face. "Where? This tower is my home. It's the only one I have left." Marcus gently lifted his hand, cupping her cheek. His touch was firm, steady, and completely honest. The hand of the man who had tasted poison for her. "It's not a place, Ariana. It's people. It's with me and Lily. We are your home." Before she could form a reply, the elevator doors opened and Lily came bursting out, having been brought up by a new friendly assistant. She saw her father and Ariana. She ran straight to them, wrapping her arms around Ariana's legs. My new mom, Lily asked, her innocent voice cutting straight through the executive facade, asking the question Ariana was terrified to voice. Are you my new mom now? Ariana felt her breath catch in her throat. She knelt immediately, pulling Lily close. She was overwhelmed. No one had ever called her that. No one had ever asked her to be a part of something so simple, so real, so profound. She looked up at Marcus, tears spilling over, her guard finally, permanently down. If your daddy agrees, she choked out. Marcus stepped forward, placing his hands gently on Ariana's shoulders, uniting them both in his strong embrace. I agree, he said, his voice husky with emotion. I agree more than I can say. That night, the trio ate dinner in the small apartment. The yellow candlelight reflected in 3 happy smiles. The expensive cashmere of Ariana's blouse was dusted with flour from a kitchen mishap. She was happy, truly and deeply happy. As they were cleaning up, Ariana noticed something stuck to the wall near the refrigerator, previously hidden by a calendar. It was Marcus's old janitorial pay stub, the piece of paper he had once been ashamed to hide, now curled slightly at the edges. She gently peeled it off the wall. She looked at the minimal number, the symbol of the life he had fought so hard to leave behind. She walked to her bag, pulled out a small, exquisite silver frame, and placed the pay stub inside. She hung it next to Lily's latest crayon drawing. She touched the frame and said quietly to Marcus, her voice filled with a love that transcended wealth and class. You didn't just save me from fainting, Marcus. You didn't just save my company. You saved my heart from a lifetime of thinking I was only worth what my net worth said I was. You saved me from being alone. Thank you for making me invisible again, but only to the world, never to you. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, leave a comment and subscribe. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten.